You know, they do the news station where it's like 5, 4. Hey, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. I'm Brendan with Ashton Fisher Real Estate. And to my left and or right, as you see it, this is
Julia Pereira.
Hi, Julia. Thanks for coming on. This is going to be a longer video. This video is for talk about joint ventures, money partners, working partners. The purpose of this video is to give value for you as a potential money partner. There's lots of advantages working in joint ventures, and there's lots of ways to structure the deal. But I want to make sure I can give some tips to potential money partners to make sure they can safely and confidently move forward and decide whether doing this is something for them to do. I want to start by saying I'm a working partner. Julia has lots of experience as a money partner. I want to explain that we have never done a deal together, but Julia has done a ton of money partnering, and I've done a ton of working partnering. And like I said, I just want to make sure that potential working partners have the confidence and some insight from Julia to help screen potential working partners.
Right.
And this is our second video together, Julia.
That's right.
Why don't you tell us about our first video and then just give yourself a little introduction.
Perfect. Yeah. So our first video was when you came on to Ace Life Investors, because we had a lot of people asking us about wholesaling. And it is not something I do or either of my partners do. And I know you've actually wholesaled quite a few deals to one of my partners at Ace Life. And so we wanted to impart that knowledge onto our community as you are doing here. You're imparting the reverse onto your community.
Yes.
So I'm one of 3 with the Ace Life Investors, and we are a mentorship coaching service for real estate investors. So yeah, that's us.
Cool. And a little more about maybe you and me. How long have you been money partnering with working partners?
To 2018.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
And a little bit about myself. I've been doing it since about 2016.
Okay.
And every purchase in real estate I've done has been with a money partner, has been a joint venture. So lots of experience, but I'm only coming from one side of the table. So I'm trying to bring the other side of the table for some context, because a lot of money partners are newer and sometimes they don't know what is good, what is bad, what is standard, and they don't know what are some of the questions to ask. So I put out a bunch of questions for Julia to answer for us. And let's get right to it. Okay, let's get right to it. Question number 1, Julia, in your opinion, what is the biggest advantage of being a money partner and joint venturing with a working partner, a local expert?
Well, right there by the comment of local expert is one of the reasons why I got into doing money partnerships. Is I live in Vancouver, sort of North Vancouver. I live in BC. And as much as I have some rental properties here, and it was kind of getting really expensive to stay in the market and keep purchasing here. So with some of the profits from here, I was able to go into other markets, and not being boots on the ground, it was a way that I could invest in something and have someone else who's boots on the ground, who knows the region, who is able to have like all the contacts in terms of all the people we need on the team. So that was like my primary reason of or advantage in doing money partner, because it still allowed me to keep investing.
Yeah.
And then the other part of it is it's really about ensuring that my money is always working. I don't always want to be working for my money. And I should have prefaced with, I still work as a consultant part-time in my profession. So I don't do this full-time. So for me, real estate is supplemental. And it's definitely allowed me to kind of get my money to keep working, as opposed to waiting for the perfect opportunity in my backyard,
Yeah.
which wasn't really presenting itself.
Yeah.
So yeah, so those, I'd say those are the two biggest ones. And also, if you don't want to do this, if you don't want toilets and tenants and this type of thing, it is the way to be in, to have your investments rolling, right? Like to have your
Yeah.
money going in real estate itself as an investment.
Speaking of the tenants and toilets, one of my partners is a doctor, and
Yep.
there's a lot to learn about real estate. Just like anything,
Yep.
there's a lot to learn about it. And he likes to be a money partner because he's gone to school long enough. And he's like, I just decide not to go to school anymore. I don't want to learn this. I want to, you know, do all the things that you were saying, have
Yeah.
it supplement and have it working and get rid of that kind of stale money.
The irony is I am a healthcare professional by
Oh,
background.
there
So
you
funny
go.
you should say that.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you're always in your own field learning a lot. I mean, I
Yeah.
will be honest, unlike that doctor, I've been in my field for 22 years. And I'm a lifelong learner. So I'm always learning about stuff. So I've really enjoyed learning about real estate, but I'm not going to fly out somewhere to change something with a
Yeah.
tenant.
To find the
Um,
best supplier for flooring to
exactly.
make sure you can get top
Yep.
rent.
Exactly. And I have done long distance investing, do not get me wrong, but in some of here in BC, I've done long distance investing. But another province, most of my JVs are in other provinces. So,
Yeah. Cool. And you do a full-time healthcare professional supplementing with real estate investing. And I'm over here being the full-time real estate investor, constantly learning this stuff, elbows deep. And
I'm happy.
I'm just gonna
Actually,
like
I'm going to
even
correct.
today, Monday,
Okay.
February 13th, tonight I'm writing this evening, three off-market offers to local people. So I'm like in the trenches full time.
Actually, but I'm going to correct you on something.
Oh,
I'm
what?
not going to tell you that I'm actually part-time in my
Oh,
healthcare profession,
oh, good for you.
courtesy real estate. And when I transitioned out of
Oh,
my profession, I actually used joint venturing. I used well,
yeah.
I did a private lend to supplement my income while I was figuring out what I was going to do. So I'll have you
Okay.
correct me on
Good,
that.
good question.
Yeah,
Good
because
point.
that was a nice transition for me going into real estate and knowing that real estate I could build wealth through real estate. I didn't have to stay full time in what I was doing.
Okay, here's a question for the listeners. How
Yeah.
do you know you're ready to be a money partner? How do you know you're even ready to do this?
That is an excellent question. Most people think it's because they have capital and they have extra money, and so I should go do it. And the truth is it is definitely something where you need to know who you are. You need to know what you're looking for that money. A lot of people who invest in, let's say, stocks, they kind of know that, hey, it's going to go up, it's going to go down. They have that kind of, I guess, perspective. With real estate, the same thing can happen, but some of the terms are longer and you may not see your reward right away. You don't see that reward right away in the bank account.
Mhm.
And so I think you really need to understand what you're getting into. Yes, we see greater returns over time with real estate, and that's my humble opinion. Just having invested. But at the same token, I think it's really about understanding who you are and what you want. And I'd say the most important thing is how is this deal going to help your long-term financial and time freedom? Like,
Cool.
what is this deal going to do for you financially? And what's it going to do for you, for your family, for your kids, whatever it might be? And just to give an example, I recently did a deal because my spouse decided to go back to school and not full time, but to do a doctorate. And at this coming September, my spouse will be going part time to work. So our monthly income is going to change. However, I did a deal 2 years ago that I knew was going to be coming to fruition this year to help supplement. So that's just an example
Oh yeah.
of really understanding, like, why am I getting into this?
Yeah.
Instead
Gonna
of it just
match your personal goals.
exactly. So that's the number one thing I think as a money partner.
Okay.
The other thing as a money partner, unlike that doctor, I do think for you to get into this and feel good about your deal, you should have a really good idea. Like you should have not a really good idea, but you should have some insight into due diligence of a property, of a deal. You should have some insight into what's the skill level of the person that you're with, that you're working with, your money partner. How can they get you out of the deal if the deal goes sideways?
The working partner, yes.
Yes, exactly. Unlike
Yes.
with stocks, if it goes sideways, it goes sideways. We have no control.
Yeah.
But with a working partner, there is control. But is that working partner? You have to be in a place where you can really have a strong relationship, where you can trust that working partner can turn it around.
They got to pass the beer test, right?
Yeah. And then the other thing is you're comfortable with understanding your personal risk tolerances and the risk tolerance that's pertinent to the market that you're investing in.
Yes. Yes. There's actually an article that I'm going to kind of match with this. And one of the things talks about matching risk tolerance.
Right.
Okay. Here's another one. Now this is a very high level one. How do you know that your working partner is a fit for you?
Yeah, it's an excellent question, because I've had great success and I've had one that was not successful, and we were not a good fit, and it's okay. It happens, and we parted ways, and it's all right. But it is stressful. I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to sit here and lie and say it's not. But I will say the one thing about that situation was we had vetted each other enough that we knew one could pay out the other. And that's exactly what happened. And that's it. So how do I know that the money partner is right for me? It really is a relationship. You have to have a relationship with my working partner.
Yeah.
I don't market on Facebook that I have money and like I want to invest. I have spent oodles and oodles of money educating myself and getting into networks where I meet people. And I also have my own colleagues that are in this sphere that I meet their people, right? So you're a great example, Brenton. Like I didn't know you because I met you through someone else. Now you and I are forming a relationship. We haven't done a deal together, but we're forming a relationship. And who knows down the road, if your deals are right for my goals, there may be a deal. But at the end of the day, it really is about forming a relationship with a person. The other side.
I have a question about something you said. You said kind of getting some education about due diligence, joining some networks and talking to people. Do you think that money partners do need to join networks and get into the industry a little bit to be a money partner? Or do you because I have some that are completely out of the industry altogether, but they do have some experience, but like their interest is to not be a part of it. So I just want to make sure that we don't set a bench that like you really have to like do this or do that or start networking or
no, because you obviously have team members. You would obviously have a lawyer. You would obviously have an accountant who can help vet for you.
Yes.
I think the reason why I say that is because money partners get cold feet. The only way you can get out of your cold feet is, how you conquer your fear is with knowledge, and is with understanding the deal. So if you have a really good relationship with the working partner and they're able to sit down and go through those numbers and show you where they're making the profit, where you're making the profit, where things can go sideways, where things can't go sideways, then you're good. You're very good.
So true understanding.
But I'll also
of the deal itself and the structure and that kind of thing.
Absolutely. And I'll also tell you, I do live by the words of Warren Buffett. I don't invest in anything I don't understand.
Totally.
So there is a part of me that you do. I say part of Brendan, why I said about the network is because it's nice to talk to your working partner, get some input from your working partner, but it's nice to have a few other people you can talk to and say, hey, I'm looking at this deal. Have you seen a deal like this before?
Yeah.
For you. So that would be the reason why. But that's
which I'm gonna jump to the end of the video. I'm gonna put your number as a contact up there. So if there's anybody that might be thinking about being a partner or wants to vet something or look at something and get some context, maybe they can reach out to you. And
Yeah.
but I just want to
And,
make sure that there's somebody other than us. I want to keep going through these questions because we got a lot. Um, what kind of things do you make sure that you put in place before you pull trigger on a deal? Now, I know what those answers are. I have a lot of things that need to be in place because when a deal comes up, it happens very quickly. And so
right.
there's a lot of understanding that needs to be there before we even know what address of house we're going to work on. Because when they come up, they're good deals and they happen fast. But in your words as a money partner, what do you like to have in place before we even know what house we're gonna jump on?
Right. So if I've already developed a relationship with the working partner, I
Sure.
want to have a conversation with the working, I mean, not if I have, I
Yeah.
do have relationships with my working partners.
Yeah.
If I want to have that conversation of like where my capacity is, like where is my loan to value rate that I'm willing to go at?
Right.
What is kind of my time frame? So I kind of want to understand the types of deals the person has, and how is that going to impact me.
Yeah.
And then the other thing is I also, you have to get into your accountant and possibly a lawyer that then gives you an opportunity to kind of ask like, hey, how's this going to impact, especially for someone like myself who's working, how does this impact my overall taxation?
Yeah.
How should I set this up? This is what I'm getting into. So I like to do that. I also like to know how quick I can get access to my money because,
It's a
as
big
you
one.
just mentioned, deals go quick, and I don't want to be the holdup on your deal.
Yeah.
So if I've committed to you and I say I'm going to do this with you, then I need to know how quick can I get it. So that's a quick call to the bank, especially since they always ask you 50 million questions when
Yeah.
you're taking out big sums of money. And tellers are not always the easiest people to work with. So I actually have a relationship with my bank manager, and it's a quick email.
Yeah.
And she has, I've signed paperwork ahead of time that she has the ability to transact on my behalf. So, like, is it a bank draft? I really want to
Sure.
understand how's this going to go quick so I'm not the holdup.
So I just wanted to kind of
Yeah.
regurgitate. So you're talking about like accounting, make sure you know the financial implications of doing a deal. You talked about access to capital, making sure that if something comes up, there's actually money there ready to go. Can I add like a thorough review of the joint venture agreement way ahead of time, so we're not going through a
Yeah.
28-page document, 18 or 28, I forget, but it's a pretty thorough, in-depth document that we got to understand. And there's lots of legal mumbo jumbo that I want to make sure that they can give to a lawyer or somebody who knows,
Right.
or we can go over together. Sometimes it's nice to have somebody just kind of explain in layman's terms what this stuff means. Hearsay, hereto, hereafter, all that lingo.
Yeah. And that was my comment about your accountant and your lawyer, right?
Right.
You want to kind of have your lawyer on board saying, hey, this is going to be happening. I'm going to have something come through, so that they're making time for you.
Yeah.
Now, in your case, Brendan, I'm getting the impression that you maybe give the JV agreement ahead of time. And that's like if you've got people that are in your pipeline that you're working with and you have relationships with. And that's a great way of doing it as well, because you've already kind of set out the parameters.
Yeah.
And I guess as a
And I like putting all that together, and then even getting a property and doing like a case study.
yeah.
No money is exchanged, but it's just a nice case study where we can look at it from every angle safely.
Yep. And I think that's the thing, as a wholesaler for yourself, you have a better prediction of that. Whereas some of the ones I've done, for instance, someone's gotten a deal, and they've gotten it as an agreement for sale, and then we were doing a rent to own, a little bit more higher level kind of.
Lots of paperwork. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Right. So it's a little bit different
Yeah.
than you're projecting in terms of how you kind of know already what your margins are going to be. You have an idea of what you go after.
Yeah.
So yeah, that absolutely, the joint venture agreement is definitely something and don't ever get into a deal without a joint venture agreement.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
that, you know.
And I just want to say too, wholesaling is a very commonly used term for me and you. But if you don't know what wholesaling is, my full-time job, my full-time profession is finding off-market discounted properties for real estate investors. So I write off-market offers, and if they agree, I give it to flippers and developers for a fee. That's what I do as a job. So when it comes to joint venture partners, I'm basically just cherry picking my own kind of best deals. And so when I find one, I call up my partners and I'm going, this one, look here. I'm going like this one. This is the one, you know? And so I obviously get excited when I find a really good one, but that's why I like to get ahead of time so that we know that, you know, my enthusiastic emotion about this amazing deal is actually vetted with a case study and paperwork and da-da-da. Okay.
Yeah, no, it's great.
Here's a good one. Here's a good one.
Yeah, please.
What are three questions that you think money partners may forget to ask in getting together in a joint venture that may bite them in the bum in the end? What are some of the commonly missed things that you think they should ask?
I think one for sure is exit strategies.
Nice.
Sometimes, a working partner will present to you like the best profits that they can make
Yes.
on the deal. And that's amazing. But if something goes wrong, what other options do we have to get out of this deal?
Yeah.
So knowing all the exit strategies, and I can't stress enough, knowing the capability that your partner has to execute on those exit strategies.
Nice.
Because that I think is key. Some people will tell you they can do it, but then they can't. And we recently had a student in that predicament where they weren't able, the working partner wasn't able to execute on any other exit strategy but the one that they
Ouch.
had.
Yeah, so they're not really exit strategies then.
And the money partner took on the house and then basically has moved on with it and made it a rental. So
can I input a story?
Yeah, please.
I'll keep it really brief. One of my strategies I do is I buy very affordable, very easily rentable single family houses on big pieces of land that match the Edmonton City plan to redevelop down the road. So in 2019, we found a big piece of land, rental property, stuffed a renter in there, sat on it for 2 years. When we went to redevelop in 2021, the year after COVID, that's when lumber and inflation was like at just bonkers prices, right? It was like, I don't know what it was, $100 for a 2x4 or whatever it was. It was like actually like $40 or something for a 2x4. It was insane. But we did all the numbers. We got the permits. We spent $10K on permits, $7K on plans. We had all the things ready. But then when the building cost went up, it gobbled up our equity on the refinance, which basically meant we were going to build this thing for fun. Yes, it would cash flow great when it was all built, but it'd be a year of building this thing with no refinance and no return of capital. And so right at the last minute, I already gave the eviction notice to the tenant. We had the development permit, but at the last minute, those lumber prices went up. And because we bought right, off market and discounted, I stuffed a for sale sign in the front lawn. And within 7 days, it was 6 days, I had a signed offer to sell to another person who was willing to sit on this property for another 5 years and develop down the road. We bought this property at $190,000. And 2 years later, when we decided not to build, we sold it for $265,000 after cash flowing for 2 years. So that's just a good story of like actually executing an alternate exit strategy.
Absolutely is. Yep. And that would be very consoling to a money partner.
Because the options there. If a working partner can't say exit, then like 3 off the top of the head, then they're like 5 and 6 is nice, but 3 is a minimum.
Yep.
Sorry to cut you off. Questions to ask a working partner that they may miss. Exit strategies.
And then the other question that often people don't ask, or they may go into something and they choose a partner because they're like, wow, this person's, super popular, or this person has a lot of deals, is, without saying it in this manner, is where am I in the pecking order? Do they have so many deals going that my deal doesn't have a priority? And moreover, do they have so many deals going and have they borrowed so much that if one of those deals goes sideways, does everything else go sideways?
Yeah.
So really understanding their scope of what other projects they're in. And
nice one.
And do they have a team that helps? Because if you have you can have a really big portfolio, but if you're one person, you got to kind of question how that's being
Sure,
managed.
sure.
So, and depending on the amount that I'm investing and I'm putting into it, I definitely ask for like credit, income, assets. Like I definitely ask for that because I want to know that I'm not the only one that could fund it if something went sideways. I want to know that there's another way that we can work something out together based on our percentages that we
Yeah.
have.
And you know what? Like just another kind of side story. If we can't fund it, what do we do?
Right.
This year, well, last year, it's 2023, 2022, late in the year, I was going to buy a property and everything was looking good. Joint venture came in and we hadn't closed yet. We were sitting, it was like 2 months, we hadn't closed, all the joint venture was signed. But somebody called me and said, "Hey, you got that deal? I'm really interested in that deal." And they offered us $17,500 just to take the deal as an assignment. So we did it and we didn't close on the deal. And me and my JV partner split the money. And
Right.
so, anyways, so I just like to give kind of stories of real context. But
Right.
as a wholesaler, like there's a network there. And if we're tying up deals that are good, if we can't close and something happens, then we fall back to the assignment. That's one of the easy
There you
ones.
go. Yep.
Just to reiterate, you gave four exit strategies. Where am I in the pecking order? If you find a deal, am I going to be the sixth person you call, or is this going to be a next year type of thing? And that's a good one. Workload, the working partner's workload. Do they actually have the capacity to manage this thing properly? And credit, income, and assets. Does this person have a chronic collections on his credit score? Do they have good credit? Do they make the payments? Do they make enough money to cover some things if possible? A worst case scenario in buy and holds, if the slush fund depletes, you got to top up the account. Where's that coming from? Are we sharing that? Do you have the ability? Da 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 da.
Right.
So that's four questions that people commonly forget to ask. And I think it's great because you're right. Those are questions that I don't hear a lot from potential working partners.
Yeah.
Do you call and speak with the working partner's other money partners as a reference?
No, I've never done that. I see that as a reference, just like at work. People are going to
Sure.
give you the best deals they've had. So to me, I have a strong enough relationship with my partner that I know by how they're speaking to me, by their performa, by when they show me their history of what they've done. So I don't typically hold a lot of weight with that,
Sure.
simply because I'm getting those people from my working partner. So
Yes.
of course I'm going to only get
Yeah.
the
Yeah. The
best
highlight. The highlight
deals,
reel.
the best deals. Now I'm very keen if they say, "Hey, I've had the exact same deal with this person,
Yeah.
and it was total same setup. Like, hey, call them, see how whatever it is, or
Sure.
see how they're going." Then fair, maybe I might. But for the most part, I have more than enough. Like, I really build a strong relationship with my partner that I feel like I can make a judgment call based on our deal, based on the person, and based on like what
Yeah.
I'm gonna get
Well,
out of the deal. Yeah.
I do as a working partner. I do offer up some of my
Yep.
partners'
And some
numbers,
people want it.
and some
Yep.
people want it, and that's fine. They may call, they may not. They all have my permission to forward them off. But one of them I like to give specifically because one partner we've lost money with. One partner
Okay,
we did
perfect.
a
See,
flip in 2018, 2019, but right when they introduced the stress test, 10% over $500,000 as a deposit or whatever for the buyer, and that affected our after repair value. So, anyways, we lost money, but I like to give that reference out because they can
yes.
ask him how we handled it and how we still work together.
And that's super transparent as well. So see, like that I'd hold in high esteem. And I'm not just saying that because we're on here. I'm serious. The fact that you want to show me one that didn't go to par, but you were able to get yourself out of it and get
Yeah,
the money partner out of it, I think that holds a lot of weight because a lot of people won't do that.
yeah.
They'll just show you all the goods.
Yeah, the
And
highlight reel. And
let's
and
be
like that's
honest.
why I call myself a no fluff person. Everybody puts this stuff on a stage and gives all the highlight reel. And I really like just pulling back the curtain and showing them like like this stuff, like what a money partner needs to ask.
Yeah, it's like that's like saying you went to school and you never failed the test. Like honestly, whatever.
Yeah, like why? Yeah, yeah. And there's this. Okay, I'm gonna make a silly reference in the movie Armageddon, right? With what's his name, Aerosmith. Um,
Um,
the woman really wants to be captain of the ship, but the captain won't let her. And
right.
she's all mad. And she's like, why won't you let me captain the ship? You picked this other guy who's like a failure. I'm a grade A student, blah, blah, blah. And she tells him she picked him because he's been through those fails and had to make those hard decisions.
Absolutely.
You, lady, are a straight A, like top of your class. You've never had to like
Yeah.
deal with failure. And so
Yeah.
Armageddon.
No adversity. Yeah. No concerns. Yeah. No, I agree with that too. Yeah.
Okay. Those are good questions. Uh, um, in a deal, how do you like your money to be secured? Everyone wants to feel safe. Now we're talking about 50-50 equity ownership, single family real estate. How do you like your money secured?
Yeah, so there's lots of ways it can be secured. Being on title is one. I will say that being on title is great because obviously you're kind of nothing can be done without you in terms of it being sold out from under you or whatever the case is. The flip side of that though is you got to make sure that you can sustain that if God forbid if the working partner did hightail and they defaulted. And then the
Now,
other,
now, when we say default, I just want to say that like default could mean a lot of things. One,
yeah,
they disappear. Two, they I
stop
don't know,
making payments, stop
stop
making payments.
stop making payments or stop managing, which is kind of the same as disappear. But I also want to say that that also could mean like a passing, a death.
Yeah.
Sometimes life happens and it's not necessarily a working partner screwing up.
No.
Sometimes it could just be an unforeseen circumstance that is categorized as a default. So, anyways, how
And,
is money secured? On
and just
title is one.
and speaking to that, like speaking to the comment about death, that's a clause you'd have in your JV agreement.
Yes.
What happens if there is a death between one of us? Like, what's the situation? So, yeah, absolutely. And then the other way that people have done it is when you're not on title, let's say that's not part of the terms, you can put a caveat or an incumbents. Other province call an incumbents or a caveat, which means
Yeah.
you have an interest in the property.
Yeah.
And the only thing that you have to take into consideration is that can backfire because financiers and lenders do not like to see that. So you
Yeah.
have to be careful because you're securing yourself. But then if part of the deal is that the
It
working
could screw up the deal. It could screw up the deal.
financing, that can come back and bite you a little bit.
Yeah.
And then, another way that I get secured on my deal is I sit down with my money partner and say, hey, what are the options of paying my money back? Like, what are
Sure.
the ways that we're going to ensure that my money gets paid back?
So like
And
back to the exit strategies.
I've had partners who have shown me their assets and they're like, as you see here, I have 5 properties that are completely 100% paid off. If this all went absolutely sideways, I'm a person of my word and integrity. This is where your money would come from.
Yeah.
And
And
I live and
go ahead. Go ahead.
I'm just going to make a comment. And
Yeah.
I live in the real world. I live in the real world as an investor in the sense of if I can get my money back and I don't get the interest or what I was supposed to get, that's the risk I choose to take
Yeah.
as a private lender. Like, because here's the
Oh,
thing
it's
about
so good. It's so good.
yeah, because here's the thing about private lending. It does have risk involved in it. I know a lot of people, it's passive, yes, but it does have risk involved in it. Whereas, and I'm not downplaying stocks, but whereas in stocks, I would lose all my capital. So I also go into this saying, can I afford to lose this money? And if I did lose the money, how's that going to impact my life?
Yeah.
Right. And I make sure me and my working partner talk about that because I want to understand how's this going to impact their life and how's it going to impact mine. So there is something about, recognizing that I might come away with just what I put in because the
Yeah.
deal went sideways. And, that's the risk I took.
3 points to that. I just wanted to come back up because you're getting my brain spinning. Here's an airplane analogy. And now I did a YouTube video about this, and I just think it's a good one. When you take off in an airplane or a helicopter or whatever your jam is, goal number one is to land safely.
Right.
If you can get somewhere cool, if you can see cool sights, if you can do a loop-de-loop, that's all bonus. But goal number one is to return capital safely. If we can take off and we fly around and we just get on the ground and go, phew, we had a scary one, but we made it down safely. That's good. That's good. Profits are bonus. So that's one about, risking, your profits. Sometimes that happens. Ability to pay back. Again, as a wholesaler, I'm not getting into deals unless there's a huge chunk of equity. We're buying off market, we're buying discounted. There's at least 20, 40, 50, $100,000 in equity. So when it comes to the ability to pay back, like the bank account is the property. And if we can sell that thing, even at a loss, there should still be enough equity there to make sure all expenses are paid and all capital is returned. And the third little note I made that you put into my brain is your total money invested. Sometimes, there's always a risk involved, and we don't like to talk about loss, but if stocks go down, it's gone. If real estate, something happens, if there's a loss, I like to make sure that people don't invest everything they have. If you worked your whole life to save up $250,000, I am not going to do a deal that costs $249,000. I think that we should understand that risk tolerance, and I don't want anyone putting all their eggs in one basket. So just some comebacks to that point. I am out of questions other than, is there anything you want to add?
No, I think at the end of the day, it's a great way to get into real estate in another province that maybe cash flows better, or that it's going to allow you to meet your own personal goals. I think the most important thing for me is, we didn't really dive into like the specifics that you would have on terms in a deal, because I've done various different deals, but the deal's important. 100% the deal's important. But the person, to me, is actually more important, because that's what makes or breaks the deal.
Yeah.
And this is why I said I can't stress enough that really knowing your partner is super important, right down to like, what are your partner's goals and what are your partner's values? It matters to me what you need in your life to make your life comfortable. Because if I'm squeezing you, how does that help?
Yeah.
Right? Everyone has a break point, and I never want to be, just like you never want to invest my $249,000. I never want to be in a place where I'm the deal that's squeezing you and just running you off your feet.
Yeah.
Because that's not going to help me either. So I really do think it's a mutual. And I'll also say, you have to have strong relationships, even from a securities level, right?
Sure.
Yeah.
Like legally, you have to actually know each other. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. So yeah, that would be my last comment to that.
Great. We're gonna wrap it up. I just want to say that, like, I'm sure if people are listening to this, there's always more questions and stuff to be discussed. We've only been on here for like 30 minutes or so. So I just want to offer up your and my contact. I'll edit this and I'll put something pretty on the screen that says Julia's contact, right? And I'll get it from you after. And
Sure.
And I'll ask openly, is it okay if people talk to you and maybe do a follow-up to this video and maybe ask you some deeper questions?
Absolutely. Yep.
And also myself, my contact, I'll put that up. I think, and I'm going to put it up at the beginning and at the end, but just make sure that you can reach out if you want to do follow-ups. And in our last couple minutes, I guess, I'll end with another question for working partners. Like if someone wants to explore doing this, maybe they're new, maybe they've done a couple deals, what is something they can do super safely to dip their toe in the water and to see if this is for them, and maybe, shop around? How does somebody window shop as a money partner? What's something they can do safely just to poke their toe in and understand things a bit better?
I'm going to say, I think if you get in and have a bit of a network, have a few people who have done it to get an
Yeah.
understanding about it. And the reality is like, it doesn't have to be $100,000 out of the gate. You could be helping out on a reno. You can be doing, offering some money on a reno. Like the first deal I ever did was 13K. And it was a reno deal and it was 3 months. That's how you get comfortable doing these things. And now
Yeah.
I'm well into 3 digits. But at the end of the day, it's just maybe getting into smaller deals and
Yeah.
explain that to your working partner.
And that's and that's why I want to put in like a plug for Edmonton. Smaller deals. We're buying these houses at 250, 260, 230. 20% down is like 50 grand.
Yeah, exactly.
To own a house, the cash flow is strong.
Yeah.
Anyways, but that's right. Dip your toe in, maybe do a smaller deal, talk to some people, ask questions. And this is why I wanted to do this video, is because a lot of money partners keep themselves secret. So I just really appreciate you sharing your expertise in this thing.
Yeah, no worries. No worries.
Thanks for watching. Julia, thank you for spending your time. We're going to sign out. All the best in your joint venture deals. Happy house hunting.